ladies and gentlemen. Yesterday was a dream, tomorrow is a vision. But a day well spent makes every yesterday a dream of happiness and every tomorrow a vision of hope. Carrying the same vision, at the Asian Institute of Business and Science, better known as AIBS, organize Biomedical Career Day every year to craft your future. As you may aware, Biomedical Career Day is the annual signature event of AIBS School of Sciences, where we invite students who have completed their advanced level examination and looking forward for their higher studies in life sciences. AIBS has had 2 successful seminars respectively, where each event saw over 200 candidates connected with key industrial experts and discovered many opportunities available in varied fields in sciences, including medicine, biomedical science, biotechnology, molecular biology, and psychology. To begin with, on behalf of AIBS, I am pleased to welcome you all for Biomedical Career Day 2021. And it is nice to see even today we have more than 80 participants joined with us in this evening. Before the event is commenced, I kindly request all the participants to switch the video on to show up your faces and to mute your microphones during the event while the speakers are talking. There will be a Q&A session at the end where you can raise your questions. In the meantime, you can also type your questions on chat and I will direct those to the relevant speakers during the Q&A session. As the students who have completed the advanced level in science stream, I am sure you are aware of the importance of thinking outside box. In my view, when someone thinks outside box, it is able to discover more and become better thinkers. Now you are going to learn about this topic from a distinguished personality in the subject. I am privileged to introduce Professor Niroshini Nirmalan, who is the Chair in Molecular Biosciences, Head of Bioscience, School of Science, Engineering and Environment, University of Salford, Manchester, UK. Me being a Sri Lankan, I am proud of Professor Nirmalan for holding this distinguished position at University of Salford as a Sri Lankan citizen and looking forward for our students to pursue careers in life sciences. Me to say a little bit about Professor Nirmalan, but quite a lengthy profile. She was graduated from the Faculty of Medicine, Colombo in 1991 and went on to complete her PhD at the University of Salford and postdoctoral training at University of Manchester. Her subsequent roles as a senior fellow at MIB, University of Manchester and senior scientist, University of Leeds, led to the publication of the first annotated 2D proteomic maps for Plasmodium falciparum and the development of novel isolation-labeled and label-free quantitative proteomic methodologies. She joined the University of Salford in 2010, where she established the Class 3 pathogen labs for malaria, overseeing many PhD studentships on anti-malarial drug discovery. She has delivered several keynote sessions and is a grant reviewer of MRC, BBSRC, and Wellcome Trust. She was the recipient of the UOS Student Nominated Above and Beyond Award 2019 and Voters Celebrating Women in Science Award in 2020. More recently, in October 2020, she was awarded the prestigious Professor B.P. Fernando Gold Medal oration by the Ceylon College of Physicians, Sri Lanka. So, Professor Nirmalan, platform is all yours.
Okay. Uh, Good evening, everybody. Here it's the afternoon for me. Can you just indicate whether you can hear me, Hiran? Yes, it's all clear. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
we can hear you
Right.
very well. Thank you.
Okay. Right. So, first of all, let me thank Mr. Hiran de Silva and the AIBS team for inviting me. It's always a huge privilege to be able to come and address young people, at a very important point, a decision-making point in their lives. But it is even more of a privilege to be able to address young people from Sri Lanka, because that's where I grew up and got all most of my secondary education from. So I hope you find this interesting, and I hope you learned something from it. Yeah. What I'm going to do is I'm going to share my slides now, right, and I'll talk through it. So the Hiran, can you tell me if you
Yes, we
can
can
see the
see it very
slides?
well, Professor.
Fine,
We can
fine.
see it very well.
Okay, right. So thinking outside the box, right? Why should you think outside the box? Why is it necessary? As I told you, you are in a very, very important time in your lives. And that is that all important transition from school. You're very familiar with that. You have been there for many years, very comfortable. Your teachers do everything for you. You follow the lead, right? And then now you're going to move into higher education, and that's going to be completely different, right? Not only is it completely different, the current climate, right, the post COVID world is also going to make certain impacts and changes, for which you must be prepared for, right? Um, right. So here you are, your school, time managed by parents, teachers, very easy, right? It's a teaching environment. It's a teaching environment. You go and you're taught. University, slightly different, because you are now treated as an adult, right? It's a learning environment. And my goodness, what a change it is from the days we went to school or we went to university, right? Because we had really not much access. There were 2 reference books in the library, 200 students. It's a fight to get to those reference books. And it was really tough those days. But here you have the internet, and one of the great things about internet, there are awful things about internet as well, right? But one of the great things about internet is that it is a source of knowledge. There's really not anything that you cannot find as a YouTube video. And very recently I was telling my son that I had got a old fashioned, it was a telescope, and I didn't know how to make it, how to use it, and how to assemble it. And I just put the serial number on onto YouTube, and there was a 12-year-old Indian boy who had made a video how to assemble it. So it's absolutely fantastic. That is your knowledge. There are the downsides of internet, right? The time you spent on TikTok and Facebook and Twitter. I don't even know Twitter. I don't even know how to pronounce it. That is a big drain, right? But the internet also has its huge advantages, right? So here it is, teaching, school, university, and then there's another. There's after graduation, there's a postgraduate phase. Right, graduation is what you're going to go into, but there's also postgraduate phase. Now, yes, university is independent learning, where you learn and accumulate knowledge which is largely there, right? You go and collect it, you learn it, you kind of make sense of it and remember it. But the next postgraduate phase is where you generate knowledge. That's what research is, isn't it? If you're going to do a PhD, it has to be new, it has to be original, something new. So you're discovering and generating new knowledge. So you can see the seamless connections from school to graduation to postgraduate changes, right? Why university? Why secondary education? Obviously, that is the gateway to employment. Why are we going to university? The ultimate goal of university is that you translate that into a career. So, and of course, in life sciences, biomedical sciences, biosciences, all these are very generic degrees, and that's a good idea. That's a good thing, because these generic degrees mean that you have a whole range of jobs at the end of it, right? Um, there's some disturbance that's coming, guys. Can you mute your, yeah, fine, that's fine, right? So generic degrees are a portal to a whole range. I mean, all these are possible. And I have students who will go on to do any of these. And that is the wonderful thing. So your graduate degree is your stepping stone to something else, something more, so many other careers, right? Now, why, if you look at science, you're all here because you want to do science. So many wonderful things, so many amazing discoveries, whether it's the cell culture, the vaccines, microscopy. Over the last century or so, we have seen so many advances which have translated the genome, the Human Genome Project, right? I mean, how do you now know the COVID genomes? How? Because the Human Genome Project was carried out, right? So whether it's the mechanisms of disease, understanding, because you have to understand what these diseases are, otherwise you can't treat them, right? And of course, here now we have this big challenge, right? Huge challenge which is affecting everybody. I don't think anyone will be spared of it. And all these are terrible things. Disease is a terrible thing, but it's also, in a sense, uh, it also kind of should guide you as to where you should put your future efforts into. Because if you look at this, disease is universal, and a career in bioscience means that you can be involved in the research side of things, in the mechanistic side of things, in understanding the disease, in treating the disease, in diagnosing the disease. So that's the great thing about the career path you guys have chosen, and it is a wise decision, right? I'm going to just take biomedical sciences, but even whether it is life sciences or biosciences, anything generic, if you just look at the areas that are covered, you will understand how broad it is. I mean, these are some of the modules that will be done. You do biology, genetics, microbiology, immunology, genomics. You have anatomy, physiology, pathophysiology. I mean, look at that. Hematology. What a wide landscape of knowledge you get, right? So these are, you're now going deeper into science. You came from a broad physics, chemistry, biology background, and now you have gone in narrower. And maybe if you're doing postgraduate, you might just go into microbiology or just pharmacology, or you might want to do a PhD in or master's in hematology. So learning is learning more and more, right? But as you go in, get that depth, you have to also specialize, right? So the fantastic thing about this future career path is that it opens out a lot. And it's always a good idea, rather than starting with like a BSc in chemistry, which is also available, right? I think something like biomedical sciences, biosciences, life sciences, all these give you such a broad footing that then then literally the world opens out to you, right? I mean, again, in the UK you did the biomedical science degree, these are some of the obvious paths that our students would take. So I oversee about 450 undergraduates doing biomedical sciences, right? And most of them will go and work as a biomedical scientist in a lab, in a NHS hospital lab. Many of them will go into do research careers. So how do you do that? Then you can do a master's by research, a PhD beyond that, right? Uh, and then, of course, scientific industry. Graduate jobs in scientific industry. It can be science comm, it can be pharma, biotech, assays, equipment analysis, sales, scientific writing. All this is open here, right? And then of course a proportion of students go into this career option, right? Particularly the higher aspiring students will want to go on to do medicine, dentistry, because they might not have got into medicine earlier, or they might want 3 years to get an additional research kind of background, some more money, some more time to earn some money, and then go into medicine, dentistry. PG cert is an education qualification for teaching, and of course, this new thing is a new job that is available. That was always available in the Americas, but now Europe is adopting it. This is the physician associate job, which is very, very well paid. It's almost like a junior doctor role. You work with a doctor, but you do the history, the physical examination, the diagnosis. I think you can't prescribe, but you work alongside a doctor, and it's a very, very satisfying role and very, very popular role, new role, right? Then of course you have teaching and stuff like that. So you have a
Yeah.
whole range of things that you need to uh, you can branch off into. Now, why am I telling you all this? The reason, the best way to make use of an opportunity is planning, right? You can't just, if you blindly go into something and then, uh, you know, um, learn it as you go along, you may not have a huge advantage, right? But if you plan, if you know what you're going into, right, then you can make changes. You don't lose time, right? The worst thing that can happen is to sail through and not take the opportunities because you didn't know, right? So there you have your career, and at 18, or 19, or whatever age you guys are, um, you think, okay, I'm here, right? Here I am, and that's the career. And yes, I start on a degree, and that's what happens. But in reality, this is what happens, right? There is no smooth road. This is life, right? Whether it's university or life after that, you will have the bumps, you will need to build bridges, you will have rain and clouds, you will slip, you will have to climb a mountain, you will have to find your own boat, right? So today is about how you will prepare yourself, right? If you go with this, you're going to get a lot of surprises, right? If you go with this, you're going to get a lot of surprises. But you can start preparing. You can start preparing, and start that right now, right? You can start that right now, because nothing like the present to start stuff, right? So today is about, you know how do I learn to climb the mountain? How do I learn to not slip off it? How do I learn to cross the river, make my bridge, make my umbrella? What am I equipping myself for, right? So to start off with, let's flip the tables and see what is it the employers need. Because at the end of the day, what is your final goal at the end of your higher education? It's it's employment. It's solid, good employment, right? Now, unfortunately for you, you are all going into a very, very difficult employment market, right? This is not just in Sri Lanka, this is all over the world. Finances are restricted because of COVID. COVID is going to be there for another year, and the huge burden, it's not just one country, it's going to be affected by everybody, right? So the employment market is going to be restricted, finance restricted, there'll be backlogs. So the thing is, what do I do? What do you do to make yourself different? And that is what will make the change. That is what will make the difference. Because there'll be hundreds of people coming in for these interviews. We already see that there are no jobs, right? The moment we interview, we advertise one job, there are like 10 times more people, because there are no jobs. That's what happens in a financial recession. This is like a war situation, right? It's like World War II. So how do you equip yourself? And the word is resilience, right? So please go and find out what the meaning of that word is in the dictionary. Resilience is preparing yourself, right, for come what may, right? And if you don't do that, you will find everything a challenge. And we are seeing that. We're seeing that in our students, clever students. But when these challenges come on, they have not been prepared, they have not planned. We are spending much more time supporting our students, right? We are spending much more time supporting our students, and it's a huge burden, and it's not just in universities, it's in workplaces as well, because we have grown up a society which is not resilient. We have grown up a society which is reactive. We have grown up a society which thinks, okay, you owe me, I am paying, so you do it, I don't have to do it. This is your responsibility. We have grown up a society which is not taking accountability for itself, right? So we have to go back to old-fashioned values. And fortunately, in Sri Lanka, we still have those old-fashioned values. Some lot of them are there. We have our family units. We have our we listen to advice. We listen to our teachers. We respect our teachers, and that is a huge strength. That's not so in the West, and you can see the disasters that are happening here because they have nothing to turn to. There's no internal strength, there's no resilience, right? How do you build resilience? Building resilience is about broadening your horizon, broadening your skills, right? Gone are the days when your first class degree was good enough, right? Because now it's online exams. Every second person will have a first class degree. You believe me, right? Because we don't have ways of monitoring these exams, right? So everyone will have degrees. What is it that you do that you show that you are different, right? One way to start and address this issue is to see what is it that employers need, what are the skills that employers need, right? And yes, a first class degree is important, right? But in addition to that, there's a whole lot of other things. Now, if you ask employers, what they need is complete, because they can always train people for the specific skills they need. But what they need is people with the right attitudes and the capacity, right? The way you expand your capacity is by doing more and more, training yourself and your mind to do more and more in less and less time, right? And that is an advantage. That is a huge advantage, right? It's a training process, it's a learning process, and it's like exercise. I mean, I start walking, I can only walk, 200 yards. I can only walk 200 yards. I start walking more, then I walk a mile, then I can walk 5 miles without collapsing, then now I can walk 10 miles without collapsing. That is what it is. That is building in the resilience. Same way, you have to do that as well. Just having this knowledge from a book without the other skills means nothing in the world these days. And nobody, sometimes, a Sri Lankan team, the way we learn to kind of go in that narrow path. I had my medical education there. When I came out and when I came to this country, I was quite lost for some time because nobody told us how to talk, nobody told us how to network with people. Nobody. We were all learning the 10 causes of pulmonary edema and how to examine a patient. And I mean, those are important, right? Those are important. But that is not good enough anymore, right? So written communication skills, absolutely critical, right? I was trained in Sri Lanka, right? I learned my language in Sri Lanka and I'm very, very grateful. Language, again, is the medium of communication. It is your marketing tool, right? If you don't get that skill, it is a huge deficit, right? Whatever you guys have three languages, right? I'm trilingual, right? Sinhalen kata karanna puluwan, Tamilen pesuwan. I was in Trinco, right? I can talk in any language, and you should, because how can you, if you do not know your languages, how can you communicate? You will reduce your society, right? Somebody from Matara must be able to talk with somebody from Point Pedro, right? If you can't do that, what is the point, right? So yes, your first languages, you must know very fluently each other's first languages, but also English, because that is the global language, right? And how do you do that? Reading. Every month, read a book, not these rubbish magazines and Vogue and stuff like that, but there are solid books, because reading gives you vocabulary, reading gives you widens your knowledge, and also communication, right? Any opportunity to talk, verbal communication, take it on, right? That, because that is a lot of the things I do for my students now, is we have these competitions where they become their, they can talk, podcasts they're called, even online you can do that, right? We have competitions and prizes, and just to draw students out, it is very, very intimidating to be where I am and talk, right? Talking to a class of 300 students is not easy. Talking without looking at notes is not easy. Talking fluently is not easy, but it comes with practice, right? I'm 57 years old, but even today, sometimes I've done these lectures 30 times, but even if I've done it, 30 times, I, for the 31st time, I practice, I plan, I look at the lectures, I get these words in my, because that is what it is, because practice makes perfect, right? Teamwork, we, that's absolutely critical in a team, right? There are clever people, there are less clever people, there are people who might be undergoing huge issues, right? That you can have leadership, you need leadership skills, but leadership is useless if you cannot understand that in your team there's someone who is struggling, that if you can't go and help that person, their parent might have died, their father might be down with COVID. It's amazing stories. They might be ill, mental illness everywhere, right? So you have to have all those skills, right? Self drive. Don't wait for your teachers to say, okay, do this, right? Make a karanda, ko, where is the other job? No, don't wait for that. Go, you do it. You come up with ideas. Analytical skills, that will be part of your coursework. Work experience, very, very important. Here, work experience, natuwa munatne, right? They won't look at you, because if you haven't worked in a working environment, you don't gather those skills, right? Integrity, always, always, always honesty, right? Whatever it is, you have to, if you make a mistake, own up to it, right? If you don't copy somebody's work, all those are basic skills, right? At this age, as an adult, nobody's going to teach you, people expect you to know, but if they find out that things haven't happened like that, there'll be huge penalties. Time management, right? This is what I said about doing a lot of things in a little time. How do you manage your time, right? Computing numerous skills, absolutely important. Verbal communication, right? I mean, there is nothing, all these skills you can learn from computers. How to make a website, how to make a video, right? All these you can equip yourselves for, right? So career planning, when do I start? What do I need to do, right? When do you start? Now. What do I need to do? This is the knowledge you need to do, right? There are three aspects. There are three aspects through your university. Once you start, this is where you start building. It's no point doing 3 years of an undergraduate degree, coming to the end of it and think, right, them monad karani, right? Right? That is useless, right? You have to start from year one. You have to start building from year one. And what are you, if you think of it, what is the knowledge I need? What are the skills I need? And most importantly, attitudes, right? Recently, we had a massive employers conference, and because we always have this to see what do you want, because we are training your next generation of employees, what exactly do you want from us? And they were not too bothered about the knowledge. They said sometimes you get the first class student, you get the skilled student, because most of these things we can also give, right? But if you don't have the right attitude, if you don't have that positive attitude, if you don't have that loyalty, if you don't have that drive, if you don't have the honesty, you can't change that, right? Skills, we can train them, right? We take them, within 3 months we can, but if those attitudes are not there, then that is a big issue. So have those in mind, cultivate those. You don't need anybody else to tell you those. You can start cultivating those, right? Information, data, my goodness, you guys have access to everything. Stop the TikTok and Instagram and all that kind of things. Those are lead, right? Other vyadi, right? It is an illness, because they steal time, the amount of time, with no, which is just gossip. We all do it. Whatever I say, I also is very nice to go into WhatsApp and look what is happening. But be aware that that time once lost, particularly at your age. We are old now. I'm looking forward to retirement, I think. So I don't mind looking at gossip, but you guys can't do that, right? Because you are building in, right? You are young minds. You are building in, you're storing for the future. So acquiring that information, use the internet for that, because there is so much there. You don't need teachers, you don't need books. Just go into the video YouTubes, whatever it is. If you're learning physiology, if you're learning microbiology, if you're learning immunology, it's all there. Every specific topic you can think of is there, or there to find, right? So yes, so that is knowledge. But of course, as you grow older, right, uh, just because you have knowledge, that is not enough. You have to turn it into wisdom, right? Just, you have these very clever people who then don't know how to talk, how to behave. They don't see the problems in the world. So that is wisdom. The whole point of knowledge is to gain some wisdom, right? There's no point in chucking everything in and remembering it and chucking it out. It is about synthesizing. It's about evaluating a situation, gaining some insight into life, because at the end of the day, that is what is important, right? Not that you became a millionaire, right? It's useless. It's about also what you do for others, right? You, in this life, what can you are you a role model? Can somebody look at you and get inspired? Those are important, right? Of course, you have to have a good salary, because you have to be comfortable, right? But you have also to look at it in a broader way, because that's what the world needs, right? There are so many inequalities in life, right? So knowledge, competence, specific skills. You have generic skills. You have project management, leadership skills, scientific writing, communication, and of course attitudes, right? You have to show a passion, right? You can't come into a work environment, look at all those things. Punctuality, for goodness sake, never go for a lecture late, right? It tells you the way you are dressed, the way you are, where you hold yourself, the confidence, right? And for confidence, of course, you have to have the correct knowledge, the competence. So you have to put in the work, right? When somebody comes into an interview, within 5 minutes, I know this is the type of person I want. The way you walk is important, right? When you wake up in the morning, that positive attitude, dress well, you know make your bed, those simple things. Go for a walk, exercise, build all that in. Those are really, really important things. Confidence, read, speak well, clearly, get your vocabulary, practice, right? Be reliable, be a team player, look after the rest of the team. Positivity, be caring, attention to detail. Sometimes people get really annoyed with me because I see spelling mistakes, and I will say, look, there is the comma is not there and all that. But that's how you train your mind. Okay, so there's a lot of things there outside what we normally teach, and that is to get the first class, to get the distinction. Those are important. But really, success cannot be guaranteed by that, right? Success cannot be guaranteed by that. Success is about this whole thing, getting all those skills. And when I say skills, is outside those as well. If you have a talent, if you're a musician, learn that, because there is nothing more impressive than having this young person coming for a job. He can speak eloquently, he has got his degree, he's looking smart, he's positive, and then you realize, my God, he's talented as well. He's a sportsman, he can draw, he's an artist, he's a musician, he has done this, he has done charity, he has climbed some mountain. It's very, very impressive. And that's what, because that immediately ticks the box of resilience. If this person can do this and this and this and this while doing his degree, coronavirus is not going to drop him, right? So little things in life won't drop him. So he is a reliable person, and he's the kind of role model we need. Okay, I'm just going to quickly go through my life and my journey, right? I, like, most people thought, lazy and all that. But of course, I've in Trincomalee, in the northern part of the country, we went through a very bad war, if you remember, right? There were a lot of issues. Studies were disrupted. Medical school, I got into medical school despite all that. I never had tuition, all that, but I got into medical school from Trincomalee. I was the only one from my school after many years. Yes, you get in there, and then you think, right, avrudu paheng dostara, and no, avrudu dahayata passe dostarane. Right? Why? Because you remember that time where there was JVP, where the Tigers, 10 years of our lives, guys. I see parents being so upset that they can't send their child to school because of coronavirus for 1 month delays. We had 10 years. We had 10 years in medical school. And, it could have destroyed some people, but it can also make you stronger, right? Worked as a clinician, as a doctor in general hospital. Then of course I wanted to go to academia. I always wanted to do science, and of course then I came to the UK. I went into bioscience, did a master's, a PhD, and then different at Manchester Uni, at Leeds Uni, and then eventually uh, at I think I was 54 when I was made a professor, right? So a long time, right? Things don't happen. You have to put in is a lot of hard work. You get hit back, all that. But if you do the things right, you eventually get to the right place. So it is hard work. That is the other work. Your work ethos, your hard work, doing the right thing, that is important. And you can't just relax and wait and then expect things to happen. It won't, right? So that is one thing. Where am I now? Right, I have a heavy teaching load. I am head of biomedicine, so I do a lot of teaching, but I also do research, and this is one of the great things about a career in biosciences, right? I came out of clinical medicine. I wanted to become a doctor, but then I thought maybe I want to do the research side of medicine, right? So I have no clinical commitments at all. I've done a PhD and come completely into research. I'm a research scientist. I'm a teacher, right? I'm a university professor. So I do teaching, and look at all these young people. They have come. They're in my group. I've had many PhD students. They all work on all aspects of malaria. Malaria is a passion that I had when I was in Sri Lanka, and of course, we work on new drugs for malaria. You know about drug resistance. There is going to be a big issue with malaria. I think it's all gone down because of COVID, which is a bigger issue, but there are no new drugs for malaria. There's a lot of drug resistance coming through. And what my group does is we look and work with pharmaceutical industries looking for new drugs. We've had a lot of success. We've done a lot of screening, right? I'm not going to go into details, but I'm just showing you stuff that this is what is possible, right? If you get things right, this is this amazing world where you can go into research. You can just embed yourself in science, right? Science of the highest caliber, right? This is this young lady from India, Priyanka Panwa. She's into modeling of these things. Some of these things even I don't understand, right? Some of the chemistry I don't understand, but you see these young people, you give them the opportunity, and they are much cleverer. They are much cleverer at modeling stuff and all the computer stuff. I'm old fashioned. I mean, she can come up with these new drugs, these new models, right? And we also work on natural products, so we have collaborations all over the world, right? Particularly in Africa, right? So this is Mariam Idrisud Usman. She's collaborating with Africa. We have students going to Africa, to Nigeria, right? And of course, some of our drugs are now also effective on with coronavirus. So this is I don't know whether you recognize this name. This is Professor Malik Piris, Professor 𝐁𝐢𝐨𝐤𝐚𝐥. And so we work with them, and because some of our molecules, the new molecules that we have made, and this is work done in Professor Malik Piris's lab. So we are collaborating, and some of our drugs are even useful in corona in with the SARS-CoV-2 coronavirus. So it is fantastic. It's a very enriching time frame. Then of course you will always um, publish stuff. You can go for conferences, and this is one of our latest papers, January 2020. Again, this is the drug that is also being tested on corona, right? So all I'm saying is opportunities are huge, right? But I have never just done one thing, right? Because for one thing, it's boring, right? uh, I have always, one of the things I've done is that every summer I start a new hobby, right? It might be just walking and identifying all the trees. So for 3 months, I will go and learn all the trees, or I will go and learn all the mushrooms, or I will learn to do pottery, or I'll start making jewelry for 3 months. Every year, I have that. Or I'll start learning orchids. How do you make orchids? So this is great because you can keep on. You get a lot of skills and a lot of happiness doing that as well. But I have so many interviews that I've gone for where somebody has one of that skill, and the interviewer, and literally the whole interview becomes, so tell me what the species of mushrooms in this country are, right? And if you can, because you have done the background work, you get the job, because here is a scientist with all the background, and they can give you a lecture on mushrooms, right? Or whatever, orchids or anything. So I'm just going to show you a few pictures that these are my interests, right? I love art. This is Pinnavala. This is the Sinhala and Tamil New Year, right? The ahead of us, right? I'm also into pottery. So this is something I do. I make these pots and uh, jewelry, right? So yeah, my family think I'm crazy, but yes, I do all this as well, right? And it's important and it's impressive, because when you see this, students think, oh gosh, you can do it, right? I am no different to you. My start was in Trincomalee, right? In a little village school in Trincomalee, the Trincomalee convent, right? I did no posh upbringing, right? Somebody shared a picture today on Facebook of someone wearing shoes that were too big for them. I said our problem was the other side, because we grew so fast that my mother couldn't get new shoes. So my mother happily cut the front end of the shoe so that our fingers were pointing out, and we happily went around, because that time, what do you do? So I'm no different to any of you, but if I can get to where I am, so can you guys. It's just planning, it's putting your thoughts and working hard, right? Don't compete, create, co-create, do things together, because more people, more brains there, the better. One, I have to share this Henry Longfellow's poem that somebody taught me as a child, right? The heights of great men reached and kept were not achieved by single flight, for they, while their companions slept, kept on toiling through the night. Nothing comes easy in life, right? You have to put the hard work in. And you're young, you can do it. So please go ahead, because then you can relax later on, right? Now, this man is my hero. I don't know whether you recognize him. I can't get a proper picture of him because he's so busy with doing the right thing that he is not even on internet in this day and age. This is Professor 𝐁𝐢𝐴𝐤𝐿𝐴. He's the professor of surgery, my professor of surgery. And one of the, I mean, he is a great surgeon, he's a great teacher, he's great, he sacrifices life for his patients. That's he dedicated his life for his patients. One of the great things he taught me as a student was about doing a task. If you are given a task, right? If you are assigned a task, do it to a level, do it to a high level, so that you can tell the rest of your colleagues, come match my standards. Thank you. Good luck in your careers, and thank you for your attention. Thank you. If any of you want my email, I will share it on the chat line. Please feel free to email me, and you can get it from Mr. Hiran as well, right? I will share it now on the chat line. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Sakun, you're mute, I think.
Yes. Thank you, Professor Nirmalan, for your valuable insights. And I believe your story made it a good foundation for our students. As the future professionals in sciences, you may know biotechnology plays a vital role in human welfare and how it has revolutionized the mankind since its existence. It is not myself, but Dr. Samira Samarakon, who is a senior lecturer of Institute of Biochemistry, Molecular Biology and Biotechnology, will speak about the evolution of biotechnology and its impact on healthcare. For me to give a brief introduction to Dr. Samira's profile, he has graduated from University of California with a BSc in biological science. He has completed a postgraduate diploma in toxicology at Department of Forensic Medicine and Toxicology, Faculty of Medicine, University of Colombo in 2009. Upon his postgraduate diploma, he has completed his MSc in Molecular Life Sciences with merit pass at the Institute of Biochemistry, Molecular Biology and Biotechnology, University of Colombo. Professor Samarakon has obtained his PhD in Molecular Biology and Medicinal Chemistry from University of Colombo by undertaking the research on effects of a traditional Sri Lankan herbal remedy on the expression of some selected genes associated with carcinogenesis and identification of its anti-hepatocarcinogenic compounds. Dr. Samir has held number of positions during his professional life at University of Colombo and presently is serving as a senior lecturer at the Institute of Biochemistry, Microbiology and Biotechnology, University of Colombo. He is also a visiting lecturer for medicinal chemistry at Open University. He is a current associate editor for the International Journal of Biochemistry and Psychology. Presidential Award for Scientific Publications in International Peer-Reviewed Journal in 2012 and 2015, Hiran Tilakaratne Special Award for Outstanding Postgraduate Research in 2014 by University Grant Commission, and NRC Merit Awards 2015 can be mentioned as few awards Dr. Samarakon has received out of many others. So, Dr. Samarakon, I kindly invite you to share your valuable insights with us.
Good evening, all of you. Now
Good evening,
I'm going to
Dr.
share my slides. Okay, can you see the screen?
Yes, we can,
Yes, we can.
Doctor.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, right now this is the topic you have given to me to discuss today, the evolution of biotechnology and I think most of the audience consists of after A-level students. Now I will ask this question from you: what to do after your exams are over? Right? You can enjoy. That is the simplest answer that you can give. Yes, you can enjoy, but meantime, you have to think about your future, right? Now, I'm trying to give some information which are important for your career development, basically on uh, biology biology students. Right now I have included this slide because according to the Sri Lankan culture, now most of the people think that then you have only one option, that is medicine. All right, or otherwise you can do MLT or nursing. Those are, yes, those are known as professional courses. Directly you can become a doctor or nurse or MLT, follow medicine or other relevant professional courses. But in other developed countries, they are basically focused on making scientists from A-level biological students. All right, that's why I included here. If you have good results on biology, A-level biology, then you can think about, right? You can think about how to become a scientist. Now, previously, I think I heard the previous talk from Professor Nirmanan, right? She also tried to highlight the value of becoming a scientist, right? There are many fields that you can engage after your biology A level, right? Not only your BSc. My personal advice is don't stop at the end of BSc, right? Because there are less chances if you stop your career, academic career, just after completing your first degree. That's why I included here. You have other chances. You can go for higher studies by doing MA and other things, right? Based on the time that you have given, quickly I will move to my topic. Right, here I'm trying to illustrate the evolution of human. At the same time, here in the uh, bottom, you can see what has happened with the evolution of human. Now you are rich with high-tech instrumentation, high-tech machinery, high-tech communication facilities, and so on. But what has happened to your nature? When you learn more and more, you will become a big person. All right, but always you have to think about your environment. That is my message. I'm not going to give my message at the end of the presentation. I will give it uh, at the beginning of my presentation, right? Now, I want to discuss something more about biotechnology and what is biotechnology. Biotechnology is a broad field which involves different sections of biology. In the biotechnology, you are going to make a product or service by using biological knowledge, right? If we think before BC 4000 to 8000, human domesticate crops and livestock. You know that. I think this will be the um, first usage of biotechnology. Potatoes first are cultivated for food, right? This is also biotechnology because they are using living things, living organisms, or living components of living organisms. Then Egyptians, they use yeast to make bread and beer, right? This is about first vaccination in 1797. This scientist developed a vaccine for smallpox, right? Now we are today talking about COVID vaccine. I will come to that later, right? Please keep this information in your mind. In 1797, they developed a first vaccine. Then in 1868, they discovered existence of DNA, all right? Existence of DNA as your genetic material. Then DNA is proven to carry genetic information in 1944. Enzymes are very important in your biological systems. An enzyme is synthesized in vitro for the first time. What do you mean by in vitro? In vitro means outside your living cells, living system, right? In vitro means you can handle living or non-living things inside the lab, right? If you handle living or non-living things inside the lab, that is known as in vitro. If you do some experiment with live animals, right, by studying their changes, that is known as in vivo. These are some new words for you. That's why I am trying to explain. Right. In 1970, they discovered about restriction enzymes. These are also some kind of enzymes. They can cut DNA. DNA is your genetic material. If 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 you are a living component, then definitely you have your genetic material. Even in this COVID vaccine, you have genetic material. The genetic material of COVID, not vaccine, COVID virus. Uh, uh, the name of the COVID virus is not COVID virus, SARS-CoV virus, right? In that virus also you have a genetic material. It is a single-stranded one that is known as RNA. Now, in our case, if you consider your cells, you have double-stranded DNA molecules, right? Double-stranded means it is like RNA is like a chain, right? DNA is like two chains together. That's it. Then I think you have heard about this in 1997. Scientists developed this dolly, the first animal clone dolly. Right? We are going to talk about cloning uh, in the latter part of this presentation. Now, if we consider all the genetic information inside your cells, if you take one human cell, you have a nucleus. Inside the nucleus, you can see DNA, your genetic material. If you read those genetic materials one by one, their building block is known as nucleotide. The collection of whole nucleotide is known as genome. In 2003, first time human genome revealed it, right? Now, what is the advantage of this information? When you have this information, it is about 3.2 billion nucleotides. Now, you know all the arrangement of nucleotides in your nucleus, right? Now there are some different components in the nucleotide chain. Some of them are known as gene. Some regions are known as non-coding regions. You don't need to know everything, but you have, right? There are about 90,000 proteins in your body. There are about 19,000 genes in your body, right? Which means now involving 19,000 genes, you can make about 90,000 proteins. Proteins are the functional unit of your body. Proteins can do many work. Some proteins are enzymes. Some proteins can act as an enzyme. Some of them can act as hormones. Some of them can act as other carriers like that. Then the other important area is bioinformatics. Now, when you have information about your genome, when you have information about the sequence of your protein, then using computers and well advanced computer software, you can analyze that data. Everything in the world, uh, depending on bonds that you can make. Now, if you consider as a, if you consider this example, if you consider your family, there are different bonds in between your father and mother, in between your brother. There are many bonds, right? Here also in biological systems, many changes and many things can be done due to different arrangement of bonding, different arrangement of attractions, right? Now here, if you know the arrangement of nucleotide in your whole genome, you can think about what are the proteins that you can make, what are the folding patterns of your proteins, how they activate on its target, like that. Okay, then this area is known as bioinformatics. I'm not trying to teach you about bioinformatics. Here I want to give some words, that's it. I can't do a big thing here within 20 minutes. Right now I have already spent more than 10 minutes. Now I have only 10 minutes more, right? Then within the next 10 minutes, I'm trying to give some idea about this biotechnology field. Biotechnology, if you are going to do something in the biotechnology field, you have to have some knowledge on biology, molecular biology, bioinformatics, cell biology, microbiology, and so on, right? Now, this is very interesting. Now, we discuss about cloning. There are two types of cloning methods, right? One thing is very simple. If you want to make your own clone, if you want to make a newborn, which is similar to your DNA content, then what you can do is you need one ovum from healthy mother, and then you can separate your nucleus from your somatic cell, and then you can introduce that into the ovum, and then you can incubate for a particular period, and then you can implant. Right here, if you use that uh, divided cell collection um, to include in a petri dish, you can use them as cells to do some experiments, or otherwise you can make a new baby by using a mother. Right, now you have heard about human insulin production. Here also there is another type of cloning. The previous type is different from this type. Here we are going to clone, we are going to make a clone, but it is not a complete organism. Here what we are going to do is, we are going to insert an interested DNA fragment into a plasmid. Right? In bacteria, plasmid can divide with their cell division. Then if you include a foreign DNA fragment here in the plasmid, right, you can introduce that into living bacteria, and then you can allow them to grow. Okay, now for that you have to have some method to cut DNA. Now can you remember I mentioned about restriction enzymes? You can use restriction enzymes to cut DNA. There is another enzyme known as ligase. You can use ligase to make it again, right? Now here the insulin produced gene, which is responsible for insulin production, has been included, right? Then when you grow your bacterial culture, the gene product of this insulin producing gene also can be seen. Finally, you can isolate them from the whole culture. This is one application. Now, this is very popular about stem cells. Stem cells means now in your body, in your grown body, you have different types of cells in your different organs. Now, as an example, in your eyes, in your skin, in your heart, there are different types of cells. There are morphology as well as their functions are different. But when you when you fertilize this egg, right now this is a fertilized egg. Now these cells are not differentiated into different functions. Now your cells in the heart differentiated to pump blood, differentiated to get the vision, right? Your skin, your nerve cells have different functions. Now these cells have stem cell properties, therefore we can recognize them as stem cells, right? Now as an example, if you have a cancer like leukemia, right? Some leukemia types cannot be cured with the existing chemo and radiotherapy. Then what we can do is we have to find a donor, right? Now, why we are going to find a donor? Because now your cells are your blood cells are cancer cells. Now, in bone marrow, inside the bone marrow, you are going to produce blood cells. Right now, bone marrow cells are altered due to some mutations. Right now, although you remove cancer cells in the blood by using other chemotherapeutic method, any chemicals, any drug, you can remove the stem cell content inside the bone marrow. Right? Then what we can do is we can replace your bone marrow cells with healthy bone marrow. Here, what we can do is we can find a donor to donate stem cells. Then you can culture them inside the lab and transplant into the patient. These are very advanced things, but I am trying to give at least few words. Right. This is also another application of stem cells, somatic cell nuclear transfer. Now, if you transfer cells, differentiated cells obtained from stem cells into patient, there will be some immunorejections. But if you can get stem cells, if you can create your own stem cells, there won't be any immunorejection. Then what you can do is again, as I mentioned, you can put your somatic nucleus into the ovum, and then you can make your own stem cells, muscle cells, or whatever, and then you can use them to transplant. Right now, this is very important. Now, I'm talking about evolution of biotechnology. Now, we started it from cultivation of potatoes, but nowadays, now you can see the advancement of biotechnology. Now, can you remember I discussed about restriction enzymes that can use to cut DNA. Now, there is another system known as CRISPR-Cas9. Right, using restriction enzyme, you can cut your DNA inside the tube. You can't do any cleavage inside your living cells, but use your DNA inside the living cells. Then what you can do is if you have any mutation uh, in your genetic material, it causes some diseases sometimes. Then what you can do is you can remove that unwanted, or you can correct that unwanted mutation by using this CRISPR-Cas9 system. Now you can see how biotechnology has developed or advanced during the period. Right now, again, if you think about development of vaccines, now this is another secret. Now, if you try to develop a vaccine in 17th century or 18th century, you have to spend more time, sometimes more than 30 years, 20 years, it depends. But now, if you focus on this COVID situation, now within 1 year, several people develop different types of vaccines. Now, what is the secret? Secret is these advanced knowledge related to biotechnology, right? Related to biotechnology, because now you can, when you have the genome of the virus, coronavirus, then you can predict what are the possible bonds that what are the bonds that can make during the infection and so on, right? Then, although you have different steps during the development of vaccine, you can do them quickly with the advanced knowledge of biotechnology, right? Now here, this is the outer appearance of coronavirus. Now here in the outer membrane, here you can see a particular protein arrangement. This is known as spike protein, right? When you develop vaccines, this spike protein is very important, right? This, what is the function of this spike protein? It can attach to your host cells, right, through this spike protein. This is the attachment. Now what we have done during last year, we screen, right, this is very interesting, we screen existing drugs. We screen existing drugs which has been used for other diseases uh, using a computational method to check whether those existing drugs can inhibit the binding of these two proteins. If you can inhibit the binding of these two proteins, you can reduce the effect of infection or effect of um, disease, right? Then we publish this finding in a journal. Now, how we did this? We use bioinformatics knowledge on bioinformatics, knowledge on proteomics, knowledge on other related fields, right? Now what I am going to highlight is learning bioinformatics can do many more things. Now here, these are composed structures by using computer software. This is the protein structure. Then it will indicate how this molecule can inhibit the binding of spike protein. Right, this is another important thing. They won Nobel Prize in 2012 for the induced pluripotent stem cells. What they did was, they took your well-grown cells from the skin and introduced different factors, proteins, different proteins like OCT4 and so on. Then they cultured your skin cells and incubated with these proteins. After a few days, after 21 days, what has happened? They reverse into your stem cells, right? This is known as induced pluripotent stem cells. Now with this technology, you can make your own stem cells, right? If you have a disease related to stem cells, what you can do is you can take some amount of cells from your skin and then reverse them into stem cells during 21 days and can differentiate those cells into other cells types in your body, and you can use for the treatment. Right. Anyway, there are many things. There are many advanced things. Within 20 minutes, I can't discuss everything. But I have written this article in 2017 for Vijay Sir article, How to Become a Scientist. This is the 𝐁𝐢𝐸𝐚𝐴. Then, if you can, I think this institution has this article. If you need this article, you can ask them. Here, I have summarized every steps to become scientist, right, in Sinhala medium. Okay, now my message is to become a doctor is, once you become a doctor, just you can give you can prescribe only medicine, or you can do just only a surgery. That's it. But if you can become a scientist, you can discover many new things, right? If you want to get an idea about my findings, my discoveries, just you can type my name internet online, then there will be a list about my findings, right? Like that, you can become a big scientist in your future. Okay, thank you very much. I think I have spent only 20 minutes according to the agenda. Now you can continue. Thank you very much. If you have any question, please text me.
Thank you very much, Dr. Samarakon, for sharing your knowledge with us today. The next awaited topic is career opportunities in molecular biology and genetics, which I believe is one of the main interests of today's participants. Dr. Chandranamali Punchiheva, founder and chief scientist, 𝐁𝐢𝐸𝐴𝐵𝑠 Medical Private Limited, will educate you on the same. Me to brief about the speaker, Dr. Chandranamali Punchiheva is a graduate from the University of Colombo and was one of the first in the country to receive an honors degree in molecular biology and biochemistry from a national university. She read for her PhD at the University of Arizona and won a competitive postdoctoral fellowship at St. Jude Research Hospital, the top pediatric cancer hospital in USA, as a postdoctoral fellow. Dr. Punchiheva has published various research articles and journals and has received many awards and fellowships from the University of Arizona and St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. She returned to Sri Lanka in 2014 and has been instrumental in setting up the molecular diagnostic laboratory at Lanka hospitals, where many important tests in cancer, infections, and other diseases are currently being carried out. In 2018, she founded the genetic testing laboratory 𝐁𝐢𝐸𝐴𝐵𝑠 Medical Private Limited with the vision of making more advanced genetic tests that are available to patients in developed countries accessible to Sri Lankans. So Dr. Punchiheva, please share your knowledge and experiences with us.
Chandramali, you'll have to unmute yourself.
Yeah, got it now.
Yeah.
Hope you all can hear me now.
Yes, we can. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Is everything okay now? Can you all
Yes,
hear
doctor.
me?
We can hear you now. Thank you very much.
Hello?
We can hear you now.
Uh,
Yeah,
it's
we
like
can
an
hear
internet
you.
connection problem.
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay. Good. So that hiccup apart, let's get on with the topic today of a few career options that you have in my pet field, which is molecular biology and genetics. So going into molecular biology, what molecular biology is, as Dr. Samira also explained, we all know, I'm sure you all have learned about this for your A-levels as well, about the DNA, the double-stranded building block, the central processing unit of cells, and then the single-stranded RNA, which codes for amino acid chains and then makes the proteins. So molecular biology in general means all these components, DNA, RNA, proteins. But when it comes to the practical world, we mostly talk about DNA, RNA in molecular biology. So when you, like I said, in biology, it's between gene and how from gene it comes to a protein and the in-between part, which is mostly described in molecular biology or studied in molecular biology. And then genes and their functions, how a gene relates to a certain outcome, is talked about in classical genetics, and then the proteins and their functions are mainly talked about in biochemistry. There are so many applications of molecular biology and genetics in the real world. Although you might not actually be too familiar, so much goes on in industry, in universities, in labs like ours. So a main aspect of this field, a main practical usage of this field is in medicine and in healthcare. Then, and I will go into that in more detail in a little bit. And another aspect is phylogenetics. And now you must all be familiar with this part because we talk a lot about the SARS-CoV and how it originated, how in Sri Lanka somebody identified whether it's originated from China or Europe, and then the new variants, the recent finding that the virus in Sri Lanka is connected to that in Iceland. All that comes from phylogenetics. So very near and dear to us, although we don't use the term per se. And then you have the forensic science. This we all know about when you say DNA testing. This is what most are familiar with, where to identify a criminal, to identify relationships, parentage testing. For all of that, the molecular biology field is used, or the molecular biology experiments are used. And they also play a big role in food and agriculture, in food industry, in agriculture industry, to identify infections, in food processing, to identify any contaminants, so on and so forth. And consumer genetics is sort of a new but not new area, where you at home can do a genetic test. You all might have heard of this company called 23andMe in US. I know people in Sri Lanka have taken their tests, and the main one of how they started was to give you information about your lineage, like where you originate from. Are your ancestors from Europe or Asia, so on? So that was of interest to the general public. And then, of course, environmental microbiology, lot of applications there as well. So going into the medicine aspect of it, what we do a lot, even at Gene Labs, is this thing called molecular diagnostics, where for diagnosis you use the molecular biology or genetic information. So as a definition, molecular diagnostics is detection and or analysis of DNA or RNA to provide clinical information. So basically what happens there is, like how a doctor, when you go to a doctor, he would use the stethoscope and then do an analysis of the patient and try to identify what disease the person has. What we as molecular biologists or molecular geneticists do is to look at the DNA of the person, of the patient, and then try to identify using DNA what the issue might be. Not only just diagnosis of the disease, but even going into treatment, what kind of treatment would be the optimum. Whether one treatment is better than the other, and then whether you should not give a certain kind of treatment at all. Many of those things can be decided by based on the genetic makeup at the time of the disease. So in molecular diagnostics, where it is applied in the healthcare sector, like I mentioned, a lot in disease diagnosis, in infections. I don't need to mention again, you all are hearing every day about PCR for COVID. and that is an infection, you diagnose by a molecular diagnostic method, which is PCR. So basically, we are looking at the virus RNA by a PCR. So that is the most common, most well-known application at the moment of molecular diagnostics. But not just infections, even conditions like cancer and many other diseases, even those ones like diabetes or hypertension, high blood pressure. For certain things like that, also now more and more molecular diagnostic methods are used. And personalized medicine, like I said, were based on the DNA makeup. One might be able to tell whether a specific drug is suitable or not suitable, and what dosage of a drug could be given. For all that, again, the DNA information is useful. Carrier screening. Many of you might have heard of thalassemia, which is a common condition in Asia and in Sri Lanka as well. So if a thalassemia carrier marries another thalassemia carrier, there is a 25% chance that the child they produce would be a thalassemia diseased person, who would then have a lot of health conditions that have to be taken care of for the rest of the life. So in this thing called carrier screening, we can check beforehand to see whether any person is a carrier and then what likelihood they have. I hope you can hear me. I get a message that my internet is unstable, unfortunately.
We can hear you, Doctor.
Okay. So by this carrier screening, you can identify whether any person is likely to give the faulty gene to a child, which would then help in the decisions and then in the match of the partners as well. In organ transplantation, you probably know that commonly blood groups are matched to see whether somebody who gets an organ like a kidney from another person would hold that kidney and not reject. Similar to the blood grouping, another important part is looking at the genetic makeup of certain genes are looked at and analyzed to see whether they are matching. Then what's called risk stratification. This is applied a lot in cancer, where depending on the changes of genes that you have, one can tell how likely you are to improve from the cancer, or how likely you are to get serious faster from the cancer, based on which the drugs and many other decisions can be taken. Another condition in blood clotting to diagnose. People have different blood clotting related conditions, clotting faster, clotting slower, that can lead to many different things. Newborn screening is as soon as babies are born worldwide now, certain diseases are checked for, and some of them are checked for using the DNA of the baby. Prenatal, now this is newborn after birth, but even before birth, one can look at the DNA of the baby and find out about any diseases they would be prone to. So I mean that's a few of the areas, but in healthcare now, molecular biology or molecular diagnostics has become a very critical part. So there are opportunities and options for jobs in this field, in laboratories where you do the diagnostics, as well as in laboratories where they try to identify relationships between genes and diseases as well. Other career options would be in academia. One can go into teaching, become a professor. In publishing, people write books, articles. Policy making in government, whether in Sri Lanka or in another country, for policy making, when they want to make policy in science or in molecular biology, genetics area, you need somebody who knows about the field. And biotech industry is a very big area where you have a lot of jobs, mostly in other countries, to a small scale in Sri Lanka as well. Consulting, journalism. I'll just go into a little bit about some of those. So like I said, in academia, this is the professor that we all are familiar with. So a career option there, but actually you don't have to nowadays be this professor. You can be like this. Or any guesses here who this would be? I don't know whether Professor Nirmalan is still joining us. So,
Yes, I can see. I can see Chandramali.
That's great. Yeah.
I was admiring how leisurely you are lecturing such a group of people who looks like much older to you, but or maybe of all different ages, but you look like you're on the podium there. Anyway, so
Thank you. Thank you.
The options that you have, that doesn't have to be traditional, somewhat traditional, but still doesn't need to be traditional. And then in research, so research can be in academia or in industry actually. So this actually is a picture that was taken at Gene Labs itself. We mainly do clinical work, like not a lot of research, because a lot of our time is taken for the medical, the diagnostic part, but we also do research as well. So in biotechnology industry, research goes on big time, where you get a lot of funding for research, and then the outcome, drugs, the vaccine, the SARS-CoV vaccine, how they identified what the sequence of SARS-CoV is, and how they made the vaccine. All of these would, involve some industry aspect as well. Then the policymaking part that I mentioned, I just found this an advertisement, of course, from some time back, but you do have these jobs, I think, continuously in institutions like the National Science Foundation, the National Research Council, and many other government organizations where the specific fields of science are useful for different kinds of jobs, and so they would be involved in policy making, as well as in distributing the government funding, in evaluation of grants, so basically helping others to do research, and so on. The science journalism is also a very important field where you might not know, scientists are not all that well known to be good communicators. So you do need somebody to translate their language to the public. But that person, while having good communication skills, would also have to have scientific literacy. So with a degree in either in molecular biology or genetics or a similar field, biotechnology, whichever the field it is, journalism is an important part where you make the connection between the science and the public. Apart from, okay, so this shows, this is an example where the editor is asking how they make a good story out of the fact that will attract the public to say that public about something, about an article on supernovas. And so this is how they do that: big stars involved in nasty breakups. So I mean, all that actually is important. It's not a lie either. So how you catch the attention of the public, that is an art to it, and whoever who has that talent can make use of that as well. And then there is investigative journalism. Not just making the connection between the scientist and the public, also finding out areas that have not been brought out in the open. again, for that is also making connection between science and the public, but making the connection through investigation and finding out what's real, what's not real. So going back to these, I just briefly mentioned a few of the areas, and in the interest of time, I wouldn't go into so much detail, but there are a lot of other options as well. They might not be purely molecular biology and genetics, but with a degree in molecular biology and genetics, that basic education that you get, how you can develop it into so many other different things, going into just management or administration, many other things like that. So sky is the limit. That is what you think, right? But actually, sky is not the limit. It is just the beginning. So I will take my leave there, but I would urge you again to open up your minds, like Professor Nirmalan said, to think outside the box and think like this, that sky is not the limit but the beginning, where you have so much more open to do so many things once you get a degree in science. Thank you all, and all the best to all of you in making the right decision in this very important place in your life, where you make the decision to get a degree, and what kind of degree it's going to be, and what you would do with it in the future. So all the best.
Thank you very much, Dr. 𝐁𝐢𝐤𝐴. So I think it was really useful for our students who have joined with us today. So at last, but not least, Dr. Thanusha Pereira, Head of Life Sciences at AIBS, will provide an overview of applied sciences. So this is a brief profile of Dr. Pereira. Dr. Thanusha Pereira has completed PhD in genetic microbiology and biophysics, as well as experimental biotechnology from the University of Peradeniya, Sri Lanka, 2014. PhD in molecular biology at the Faculty of Medicine,
Weak signal.
University of Peradeniya, granted by
Yeah, almost lost.
I think I'm sorry to for a while. Let me continue from there. She has completed her PhD in molecular biology and biochemistry at the Faculty of Medicine, University of Peradeniya, granted by National Research Council, Sri Lanka. She has over 2.5 years of experience as a scientific officer at Molecular Biology and Genetics Research Laboratory, and 1 year as a demonstrator at Postgraduate Institute of Science, University of Peradeniya. She was involved in several research, namely Microbacterium tuberculosis and non-tuberculosis microbacterial infections using Smart Cycler 2 real-time PCR, studies on Lactobacillus bulgaricus and Streptococcus thermophilus stability, effect of probiotics and their stability in fermented products, studies on animal cell culture, cell toxicity and cell visibility testing, and serum biomarkers and histopathology of renal and liver tissues, etc. So, Dr. Pereira, it's all yours.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me? Can you all hear me?
Yes, we can.
Right. Today I'm going to talk about the overview of biotech HND in applied science. So I'll briefly go through the syllabus and let me talk few subjects related to biotechnology, molecular biology, and biomedical science. Can you all see the presentation?
Yes, we can.
Right.
You might as well put it into presentation view. Okay,
yeah,
we can do it. Yeah.
Fine.
Yes, we can see it well.
Right. So the BTech High National Qualification in Applied Science sciences are designed to address an increasing need for high quality professionals and technical education pathways at level 4 and level 5. So this provides students with a clear line of sight to employment or progression to further higher education studies. So here, so if you go through the syllabus, you'll find different modules in different semesters. As an example, in the semester 1, first semester, you'll find regulation and quality in applied sciences, then cell biology, fundamentals of chemistry, and anatomy and human physiology. When it comes to second semester, there you'll find fundamentals of laboratory techniques, scientific data handling, microbiological techniques, and then managing scientific projects. So in the third semester, you will study molecular biology and genetics, applied science research project, then analysis of scientific data and information, and then scientific laboratory management. The final semester, that is the fourth semester, you will study about biochemistry and then drug developments for production and then infectious diseases, immunology for biology, that's for the biology study students, and then biotechnology techniques, those who are studying applied sciences in biotechnology. So there are few subjects that is common to most of these science fields, including biotechnology, molecular biology, and biomedical science. So some of these subjects, they are biochemistry, cell biology, molecular biology, and then microbiology. So if we compare all these areas, they all have biology in them. So that means they all involve in the study of life and living organisms like plants, animals, and microbes. So now let's see their importance in different fields of biotechnology, molecular biology, and biomedical science. So first of all, let's talk about the importance of biochemistry in biotechnology, molecular biology, and biomedical science. So I hope now you all have an idea about what is biotechnology, what is molecular biology, and what is biomedical science. So let's see now what is biochemistry and the importance of biochemistry in biotechnology, molecular biology, and biomedical sciences. So if you take biochemistry, biochemistry is the study of the chemical substances and processes that occur in living organisms like plants, animals, and microbes, and of their changes they undergo during development and life. So its goal is to understand and explain the operation of living organisms. That is by examining their chemical, molecular, and cellular properties. So in that reason, this study is also known as biological chemistry. So through the coursework and lab work, biotechnology will explore the structure and function of the key biomolecules, that is proteins, lipids, carbohydrates, and nucleic acids, and that allow the growth and development of all organisms. So therefore, it is not surprising that biochemistry enter into the investigation of chemical changes in diseases, drug actions and other aspects of medicine as well as in nutrition, then genetics and agriculture. So many drugs that exert their influence by altering cell chemistry or biochemistry. So therefore, it is very much important to study and understand the biochemistry in order to understand their function. So as an example, uh, biochemistry is as an example, if you take, if you can determine the biochemistry changes that lead to some disease like cancer, so you can design drugs to target those changes. So as a result, you can reverse the disease state and restore the health. Right? So in brief, biochemistry is a pure science field where biotechnology is an applied science field. Right? So if I explain it with an example, biochemistry deals with the processes and pathways happening inside the living cells, where biotechnology deals with the techniques to study those processes and applications of those processes. Right? So therefore, without knowing basic backbone of biotechnology, which is biochemistry, one cannot play with biotechnology. Right? So when it comes to molecular biology, in the field of molecular biological studies, the molecular biology is known as the how DNA replicate, transcribed and translate into proteins, and the mechanisms of genes-based expressions in this. So this knowledge facilitated by the biochemistry. Moreover, the primary goal of biomedical science is to enhance understanding of human body functions. So in brief, it is more focusing, involving and section of biology system, and it's a technological intervention. So therefore, it is the exploitation of biology process for industrial, mechanical, technological and other purposes, especially genetic manipulation of microorganisms, production of antibodies and hormones. So that is how this biochemistry relate and important in the fields of biotechnology, molecular biology, and biomedical science. So if I brief about the careers in this field, that is biochemist, biological technician, clinical laboratory technician, then biologist, medical scientist, biomedical engineers, etc. So now, let's see the importance of molecular biology and genetics in biotechnology, molecular biology and biomedical science. So molecular biology is the field of biology that studies the composition, structure, and interaction of cellular molecules, like especially nucleic acids and proteins. So this is the study of living things at the level of molecular level. So detection of microorganisms was previously laborious and time taking by conventional microbiological methods. But now, with the help of these molecular biology techniques, we can rapidly detect and we can use molecular methods, possible to use molecular methods for pathogen identification of pathogens and other health important microorganisms and diseases. So we can use this molecular biology and genetic techniques in biomedical science for diagnosis of non-culture agents like human papillomavirus, then hepatitis B virus, then fastidious or slow-growing agents like Mycobacterium tuberculosis, then highly infectious agents that are dangerous to culture, then identify agents present in low number health settings. example, like HIV, antibody negative patients, then organisms present in small volume specimens like forensic samples and intraocular fluids. So, so by considering all this, this molecule study of this molecular biology and genetics is very much important in these areas in biotechnology, molecular biology, and biomedical science. So here you can see some of the career opportunities which is coming under molecular biology and genetics. That is forensic scientist, genetics, then material scientist, molecular biologist, pharmaceutical researchers, clinical researchers, toxicologists. Those are some of the career opportunities. And then let's see the importance of microbiology in biotechnology, molecular biology, and biomedical science. So microbes or microorganisms, they are organisms that are too small to be seen by a naked eye. So they include bacteria, fungi, then protozoa, and viruses. So the microbiology is the study of the microorganisms, those being unicellular, that means a single cell, and then multicellular, that is more than a cell or cell colony, or acellular, that is lacking cells. That includes viruses, fungi, protozoa, and etc. So the microbiology is microbiology in biotechnology is called the microbial biotechnology. So in this, microbial biotechnology is applications of scientific and engineering principles to the process of materials by microorganisms, that is to create useful products. The simplest example is yeast used for fermentation, right? So other examples are like combat disease, plant diseases that attack important food crops, and then prevent microbial spoilage of food, and then transmission of foodborne diseases like salmonellosis. Then use microorganisms to make food like cheese, yogurt, pickle, beer, etc. And then use microorganisms to make products like antibiotics, vaccines, steroids, then another solvents and vitamins, amino acids, and enzymes. Uh, there are a number of products where we can produce by using this microorganisms. When it comes to molecular biology, molecular microbiology, it deals with molecular mechanisms and physiological processes of microbes and their utilization in production of biotechnology products and also in medicine. So different engineering microorganisms used to make hormones, antibiotics, vaccines. So as an example, if we take the production of vaccines are made from microbes that are dead or inactive, so that they are unable to cause diseases when injected. The antigen in the vaccine is the same as the antigen on the surface of the disease-causing microbe. Therefore, the vaccine stimulates the body to produce antibody against the antigen in the vaccine. So that's how we use microorganisms in the production of vaccine. It's a very important application. And if we talk about this microbiology in biomedical science, we call it as medical microbiology. That is mainly deal with diseases of humans and animals. So here the detection of microorganisms was previously time taking because they use conventional microbial methods, but now we can use rapid detection methods with the help of the molecular biology methods. So and also it involves study of immune systems that protect the body from the pathogens. If you take bacteria and fungi, they are also used to create antibiotics. As an example, tetracycline, penicillin. So microbiology is also very much important in the fields of biotechnology, molecular biology, and biomedical science. So, if we talk about the careers in the field of microbiology and related to biotechnology and this molecular biology and biomedical science, there are medicinal chemist, microbiologist, pharmacologist, then research scientist, biomedical scientist, biotechnologist, virologist, and mycologist. So these are some of the careers. There are a lot actually. So, and then if we talk about the importance of cell biology in biotechnology, molecular biology, and biomedical science, uh, here the cell biology is the branch of biology studying the structure and function of the cell. So, cell it examines on microscopic and molecular levels and also the physiological properties, structures and organelles like especially nucleus, mitochondria, and also the interactions, life cycles, cell divisions, cell death, and other basic units of this organisms. So this field of cell biology traditionally has focused on questions concerning like how the various organelles work together, how these cellular processes are regulated, and how the various cells within the organisms communicate with each other. So therefore, the understanding the composition of cells and how cell works is fundamental to the biological and medical sciences. So, cells and tissue culturing, if you consider especially the tissue culturing, it is very much essential unit of cell biology, where the knowledge and the practice of these fundamental techniques involving the growth of the cell type that is interest, and also cell can be derived from any organism. So this is applied in biotechnology to nature cells of interest in preparation for genetic studies. So in biotechnology, cells are used for many projects based on your project has to do with. So for example, if you want to clone a specific gene, you have to use bacteria cell like E. coli. Moreover, since experiments are not allowed on humans, cells from any tissues of our body can be also derived through biopsies. So they can be put in a medium that will help them to proliferate and then can be used in experiments such as new drugs for cancer treatments. So it is very much important. Study of cell biology is very much important in cell culturing, and especially animal cell culturing techniques. And when it comes to molecular biology use techniques and information from cell biology, that is to genetically modified crops production, and then to clone plants and animals, then to produce and ensure high quality foods in variable at low cost, and to produce pure medicines and in time organs for many people who need transplants. So there are various applications you find in cell biology that is important to study cell biology to apply them in molecular biology. So, and also by understanding how cell works in healthy and disease status, with cell biologists, they can work in who are working in medical science will be able to develop new drugs, vaccines that is more effective in medicines. So when it comes to medical field, in medical cell biology, it provides knowledge of essential principles of the cell structure, function, and the most commonly used techniques and equipment. So here the medical cell biology covers areas like structural and functional function of cells, then characteristics of location and sequence of many cellular events, then cell signaling, and then transport across membranes, then cell junctions, cell surface, its specializations, and cell adhering and communication. So all these coming under uh, medical cell biology. Uh, and as an example, the cell division in cell biology, it's a crucial in biotechnology studies. Yeah, we can, where the monitoring growth of cancer cells for identification and the therapeutic purposes. So we can talk a lot about uh, this about cell biology, especially the, the cell chemistry of the biology, where we can apply this all these things into biotechnology, molecular biology, and biomedical science. So right, so there are some of the careers found in cell biology field is there are the forensic scientists, genetics, then material scientists, molecular biologists, pharmaceutical researchers, toxicologists. So those are some of the main careers you'll find in this cell biology field, which can relate to any of these uh, streams like in biotechnology, molecular biology, and biochemistry. So I hope you all have an idea about the idea of overview of the applied science subjects, modules, and few like this cell biology, biochemistry, molecular biology, how we can relate those into different fields of biotechnology, biomedical science, and molecular biology. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Pereira. So I'm sure that you were able to gather enough and more knowledge from our experts on the addressed topics today. So students, now it is all the participants. Now it is your opportunity to clarify any doubts with our guest speakers today. So far, I haven't received anything on the chat box. So your opportunity now. Platform is yours. Please raise your questions.
So let me just start the ball rolling. I know we have had bad weather, so some of the students have dropped out. Unfortunately, you have bright sunshine in Manchester, but Sri Lanka, we are experiencing thunderstorms here. So I think the internet connections are also not very conducive. But let's try to see whether we can get some questions in from the experts. So if I may ask Professor Nirmalan, what was interesting, an area that I picked up from your session was the advent of a new role called a physician assistant. Now, I know in Sri Lanka, most of our children aspiring medical doctors or those students who have done A-levels, their primary goal is to become a medical doctor like you. But then you have broadened yourself by venturing into science and then to academia and research as well. As you know, the field of medicine is so competitive in Sri Lanka, and not all our bioscience students will have an opportunity to study medicine. So we at AIBS generally tend to say that biomedical science probably is the second best. If you are unable to get into the medical school, study biomedical science, and quite rightly, as you and all the other speakers highlighted, there is much more opportunity. But what is interesting is that the physician assistant role seems to be something that is very close to being a medical doctor, working alongside a qualified doctor. Now, I don't see that in Sri Lanka yet, but probably we need more and more doctors per one population or 1,000 persons in our population. So the per capita rate has to go up. And how do you see this evolving in Sri Lanka? And what is the role of a biomedical scientist in becoming a physician assistant, Professor?
Right. So let me just explain the physician associate role. The physician associate is a 2-year degree. It's a 2-year postgraduate degree. So with any bio degree, after that, you can then apply for a postgraduate 2-year degree to get into physician associate. So some of our students will also apply for medicine, and you can do postgraduate medicine and do 5 years. The problem in the UK is, of course, for postgraduate medicine, they don't have funds. So, the student loan is not available. So it becomes very heavy. And that is 5 years. Whereas here with physician associate, it's 2 years. And usually it's also delivered in universities with a medical school. Not always, but most of the good physician associate courses are delivered in a medical school. And they almost parallel the first 2 years of medical school, but with additional work experience in the wards. So what the reason that was necessary here is for the community kind of, like for the general practice, the GPs, so there's such a shortage that, this role is like a very helpful role where, all the examination, the history taking, the diagnosis, all that is done independently. And the management and treatment, I think, is done in conjunction with the doctor. So it will be alongside a trained medical doctor. But this is a very attractive role because one thing is new. So there are lots of places available. And a lot of our biomedical scientists are actually moving more into this role because the starting salary is higher than a junior doctor salary. So if you look at if you look at the funding model here, it's about 32,000 a year. Whereas if you take the biomedical scientist role, you might start off with about 20. So it's a big difference in salary. And it's also a much more exciting role because these are new. So most of the medical schools now have the physician associate embedded into it. It's very new. It's a 2-year role, and at the end of 2 years, there's an exit exam. So there is a risk that at the end of 2 years, if you're not very good, that exit exam is quite tough because it's held by the Royal College of Physicians, I think. But it was always there for in America. And it's a very, very useful role. But there's also in the wards, there's also a stream where the PAs or the physician associates can specialize, maybe just in anesthesia or cardiology. So you can have like a super specialism only and work in the wards as well. As for Sri Lanka, of course, I don't know how long it will take for it to come there. But it will have to be in with the permission of the medical schools and the
GMOA.
Yes. So it might.
Right.
Yeah. So that was the thing. But otherwise, I mean, it is a very common. But if you're coming out for your higher studies, and then it is a important role.
So it's more like doing a master's program for a biomedical science graduate. So it's a 2-year program, 2-year master's.
Yeah.
Right. So I thought I'll ask that question because that will give a good insight for our prospective students.
Yeah.
From an academic progression point of view, what opportunities that are available. to get
And
as
one,
close to, yeah.
yeah,
Sorry.
and one more thing is that I think the UK from summer this June is opening up the post-study visa. Now
Yes,
up
that's
to,
correct.
yeah, so up to about couple of years, up to recently, you can come and do your masters, a 1-year master or a 2-year masters, or
Yes.
but then you have to go back immediately
Okay.
once the masters is done. Now they are opening up 2 years. So this opens now for our masters. We've got a huge expansion from India because they're coming for their masters, finishing their
Okay.
masters. Now, if they can stay 2 years, even if it's not a scientific job, they can
Okay.
then work somewhere. You earn in pounds and you can actually pay back. So even if you're going to,
That's correct.
yeah, so
Yes.
it's a big thing for the students because they have that 2 years to either work in a scientific capacity or any capacity, because you earn back your money and you can pay back the loan you take to come abroad. So it just opens out
So,
opportunities.
thank you, Professor. That was enlightening to understand. For one thing, is from a career progression point of view, and also the latest developments in the UK in terms of affording opportunities for our Sri Lankan students to maybe get some work exposure in the UK. Thank you very much. So there are a couple of questions. Maybe I will take this question from Ravisha Besekara, and she's having a question about AIBS having only up to the biomedical science, only up to the HND level. Ravisha, you are correct in a sense. Right now, we are delivering the HND, which is a 2-year, 18 months full-time program, which is equivalent to 2 years or the first 2 years of a university degree. We, in fact, are in negotiation with a number of universities for partnerships. Unfortunately, as Professor Nirmalan said, UK universities are all working from home, and as a result, some of the planned partnerships have not come through. But I can rest assure you that our planned partnerships will come through hopefully this year or early next year. So that our students who are doing the HND level can progress to seamlessly transfer to the final year of a UK degree, a BSc Honours degree. But for transition students at the moment, we have actually some of our existing batches, we have an understanding with competing institutions who are offering UK degrees here in Sri Lanka. In particular, I can mention Coventry University and the Oxford Groups University, who have actually undertaken to absorb our students to complete the final year of a bachelor's. So if I hope you got the answer. For any student who is joining us fresh, I can rest assure you that within the next year or so, we will be able to complete the, I would say, the paperwork to allow our students to progress to complete the final year in Sri Lanka. Now, having said that, I can also tell you, as Professor Nirmalan just now confirmed, we have the ability to transfer our HND students to complete the final year in the UK, because there is an additional advantage that comes through to some of our students who are capable of completing their final year. So if you graduate in the UK, that's, for example, if you do the first 2 years in Sri Lanka, transfer to a selected UK university and complete the final year in UK, then you are entitled for the post-study work visa, which is 2 years after graduation. So technically, you have an additional benefit of going over to the UK, completing your final year, graduating in the UK, and staying over for a further 2 years to get full-time employment. So some of the prospective students have now looked at those options as well. HND being a UK qualification, a UK regulated qualification, almost all the universities in the UK accept the HND level 5 qualification as an equivalent to the first 2 years, and therefore you can seamlessly transfer to the final year of your chosen degree, either a BSc in biomedical science or a BSc in biotechnology. So I hope I have answered your question, Ravisha. There is a question from Tushini. Please,
Do you
can
want
I
me to
know?
take that? Yeah.
Yes, would you like to do that
Yeah.
also? Yeah.
So Tushini, what you're asking is, if you're joining a private university, how do you then go on to be a research scientist? So the course is, you finish your BSc in that university, right? You can finish your BSc, whatever the private university is, and then you apply either for a MSc or an MRes outside. So the scientist route is BSc, MSc, PhD. So the PhD is the full-blown thing. So as I said, because of the post-study visa, if there's also an MRes, Masters by Research. So if you want to do a research career rather than a taught masters, which is an MSc, it is better for you to get a Masters by Research, and any university offers both. So MSc would be a taught masters, where it's like a BSc but at a higher level. And MRes is where you will come in. There's nothing taught. It's like a mini PhD, but you have 2 years to complete it. 1 year of research and 1 year to write up. So you have 2 years. And then in addition to that, they will give you 2 years post-study visa. So now I think it is, people will have to, even if you take a loan to come out, you can actually pay that loan, because there are two more years you will be given to after your degree to do a job. And whatever the job you do, you can save, because you're talking of pounds here.
Professor, just to clarify, the MRes, is it something like an MPhil?
It's like an MPhil. So
Right.
some universities call it usually the word MPhil usually goes if you start a PhD and you can't finish it.
Right.
Then you can convert it to an MPhil. Or if you're not sure that you have enough funds to progress beyond an MPhil, then you start as an MPhil, then you can progress to a PhD. Right, so you do 2 years and then do 1 more year and you get a PhD. MRes is a block if you only want the MRes. So MPhil is either you can't finish the PhD, or you're not sure whether you'll have funding.
Right.
But it gives you a direct, you can seamlessly go on to a PhD. MRes is very similar, but it's a en bloc thing. It depends on the funding. If you have 3 years funding, then you go for a MPhil and PhD. Whereas otherwise, it's an MRes.
Thank you, Professor. Thank you very much.
And the MRes, you only pay for 1 year, by the way. You don't pay for the second year. Fees are only for the first year. Second year is write-up time.
Okay.
Thank you, Professor. There's another question from Devni. So I wonder whether Shahan can take it up.
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. So I was getting some direct messages. I will be dividing both those direct messages into 2 types of messages. One is that now, usually when I think Dr. Tanusha has gave a brief regarding the academic perspective of our HND program, while Mr. Hiran explained you the pathway from HND to the bachelor's. So students who are wondering if they couldn't get the minimum entry qualification, whether do they have an option with the AIBS? Yes, you do have, because we do have certain bridging programs for life sciences students where they can enroll and complete prior to their HND, which will help them to get that entry qualification they required to enroll with our HND programs and then progress up to bachelor's degrees. And the other questions, so after today's session, you guys will be wondering how to pick out the best career pathway for you, whether it's going to be biomedical sciences or biotechnology or molecular biology. So for those students, we do have a 1-month preparatory program called the pre-biomed program, which will be starting from February onwards. So I will keep in touch with all of you, and I will keep you guys posted regarding the pre-biomed program. This is a 1-month training, both in theoretical and practical aspects, where you guys can figure out the academic perspective of each of these modules, get to the point, and identify what would be the ideal pathway for you. So I will drop my contact details in the chat box. You guys can contact me and keep in touch with me. I will keep you guys posted regarding the upcoming intakes of bridging program as well as the pre-biomed program. Thank you.
Thank you, Shehan.
Another question by Jitnukha. Jitnukha, the question is, I want to do medicine. Do I get exceptions if I complete my degree in biomedicine? So postgraduate entry into medicine, so that you, instead of doing 5, you only do 4, or you compete again for the normal 5-year without any any changes, any reductions. But both are very, very competitive. In fact, the 4-year degree is much more competitive because all graduates want to go through that. So yes, in a sense that if you're very good and do get into the 4-year degree, you only pay for 4 years rather than 5 years. But otherwise, it's a routine 5-year degree that is open to you even before a graduate thing. But because with a graduate degree, you are better equipped to get into the through the competition.
Professor, another question.
Yeah, that's one.
Yes,
So I want to ask
Tushini.
you, is it okay? It doesn't matter. So because most of these degree awarding bodies are recognized bodies. So if you have degree awarding status, then whether it's a government it wouldn't matter. It is a degree. It doesn't matter really. So whether it's a government university or a degree awarding body, a private degree awarding body, because the standards are, you can't just award degrees. There are standards that have to be met, and it has to be equivalent to the universities.
If I may add a little to what Professor Nirmalan said, Tushini. So if you look at the Sri Lankan environment, the awarding body or the regulatory body, the regulator is the University Grants Commission, who regulates the awarding bodies, which are the state universities. Whereas if you look at the UK universities, in this particular example, there are degrees delivered here in Sri Lanka, which are awarded by UK universities. The UK university is regulated by the UK regulator. And as a result, most of these universities are coming from the UK. They are much broadly recognized globally and also ranked better compared to the Sri Lankan universities. I'm in no way saying Sri Lankan universities are inferior, but that is what it is. The global recognition is greater if you look at the UK regulatory bodies and the awarding bodies. So for example, if you are looking at a progression to a master's program, sometimes you might have more universities recognizing your degree if it is a UK or an international degree compared to the Sri Lankan universities.
Yeah.
Okay. So
we spent a lot of time today.
yes.
Yeah.
So I think no more questions coming in. I don't see anything coming in on the chat. So
So
now that
there's one more about core textbooks for you, I think, from Ravisha.
Yes, yeah. Our Cortex books given pertaining to modules. So Ravisha, we have a referencing list given by the awarding body, which is Pearson. So all those books are available in our library for reference. We are also in the process of creating an e-library, which is accessible to all our students on a real-time basis. So you will have access to all the books in our e-library, plus physical books in our library. We are doing this because currently we deliver blended. So not all our students are able to come for face-to-face teaching, so which means the library is also technically closed. We will be allowing access for all our students to get into the e-library for referencing as well. So the answer is yes, either in a physical form or in an electronic form, we will make the core textbooks available to you.
and Sean, I think if you can take these questions about delivery and completion from CS.
Shehan?
Yes. So, I couldn't. Could you please read the question for me?
So
Right.
is
Is
this
this conducting
conducting
online? Yes.
online?
Yes. So, for the time being, we will be conducting all our classes online. But as soon as the government gave us the permission to open up the campus again for students, we'll be having on-campus lectures as well, and as well for life sciences students, especially since you guys have to come up to the institute and do the practicals by yourself. We'll be conducting group sessions for you guys to complete the practical sessions as well. So the programs wise, I will be keep you guys posting, especially our certificate programs like pre-biomed programs will be conducting online, and the HND programs will be conducting online for the time being. But as soon as we get the permission to open up the campuses for the students, we'll be having on-campus sessions as well. So it's going to be a blended learning mode because of the new normal, but you don't have to worry whether we deliver online or whether we deliver on campus. We will be giving it in a way that you guys can understand and proceed forward.
Thank you, Shehan. If you can also take up the next question, do we have to go abroad to complete this?
No, you, like Mr. Hiran explained before, there are pathways available in Sri Lanka as well, but the advantage that you'll be getting by completing a Pearson BTech level 5 is that not just the local pathways that will be available for you, there will be international pathways open up for you as well. So it's your choice how you want to complete the bachelor's. As you prefer, we will be delivering you the pathway that you want to progress through.
Thank you very much.
Sure,
If I may add,
yes.
I think the BTech HND will definitely be delivered 100% in Sri Lanka and at our institute. From that point onwards, for progression to a completion of a bachelor's, it can be the choice of the student. If they want to complete it in Sri Lanka, it can be also done, but if they want to transfer and complete it in the UK, that also is possible.
Thank you, Mr. Hiran. Yes? Right.
We can probably
Yes, I don't see any more questions coming in. So that now we have come to the closure of today's event of AIBS Biomedical Career Day 2021. Let me take this opportunity on behalf of AIBS to thank all the guest speakers for sharing their valuable knowledge and experiences with our future professionals in life sciences. Once again, thank you all for joining with us in this evening. I hope that we were able to provide you all with some valuable insights to craft your future in life sciences. I wish to see you all at AIBS in February 2021. Have a good night.
I may add one more to that concluding remarks. I want to make a special thank you to Professor Nirmalan who stayed. I know it's sometime in the afternoon. I'm not too sure whether you had your lunch, Professor.
No, that's fine. Thank you very much. No, yeah. It's a privilege, Shiran. It's an absolute privilege to come back.
I know that you always say yes to when AIBS comes on board, and you've been very supportive. Thank you very much. And also Dr. Chandanamali Kunchiheva, Dr. Samira Samarakon, and our very own Dr. Tanusha Perera. Thank you for your insights. And it has been, I would say, very inspiring and very enlightening session for all of us, including me. Thank you, students. Thank you, prospective students and parents for joining us as well. And we look forward to being with you again. Thank you and have a very good day.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.